So much of life feels like a climb. But what happens when you reach the top?
It's odd to think that no matter which direction you look, you're looking down, because there's nothing in the world higher than where you are.
From his early days of growing up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, where Andrew Towne faced ridicule and challenges, his venture to the top began with a single step.
Today I'm 6'3" tall, and at one point I was 5 feet 3 inches tall, and I weighed 50 pounds more than I do today. And so my nickname in elementary school and middle school was Towne's Busted, in reference to my heaving bust. And I still remember that nickname kind of irked me, and so in 9th grade I decided I wanted to try and do something about it, so I started jogging. And I couldn't even jog a full block. I had to jog half a block and then walk the rest of the block. But eventually, after a few months, I remember the first time that I was able to jog a full mile without stopping, and it was one of the proudest accomplishments in my life up to that point.
His journey continued after graduating from Grand Forks Central. He attended the prestigious Yale University, where he walked on to the rowing team, a decision that both humbled and motivated him.
Sometime around my junior year, our coach scheduled a test every single day for 2 weeks straight, and the tests were so frequent and I was so nervous that moment forced me to get over my own nervousness about how I would perform in the face of pressure.
Towne finished his rowing career at the peak of success, not just in Yale's top boat, but the nation's best, as a national champion in 2005. With his competitive drive building, his desire of difficulty steered him onto a new path.
When I graduated from college, I was looking for a different way to test my mental limits, and I'm terrified of heights. So I got into mountaineering.
Towne's first taste of mountain climbing was during his time studying abroad in Kenya. He was invited to climb Mount Kenya, the second highest peak in Africa.
Prepared as a North Dakotan with no mountaineering background, I put on my best corduroy wide wale pants and my basketball shoes and my 1990s Columbia jacket, and we set off for 16,000 feet, the trekker's summit of the second tallest mountain in Africa. Even before the sun had risen over the horizon, my knees are shaking and I'm literally afraid that my legs will buckle because I'm so terrified that I'll slide down the mountain to my death, that all I could do was close my eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and think about everything that had got me to that point. And after a few deep breaths, I was able to collect myself and literally put mind over matter to continue taking those steps and reaching the summit.
3 months later, Towne conquered Africa's tallest mountain, Kilimanjaro, then South America's highest peak, Aconcagua. Each step a milestone toward his goal, climbing the tallest mountains on all 7 continents. But in 2015, during his ascent of Mount Everest, disaster struck.
We're sitting and having lunch in our dining tent, and I felt the table start to rumble. And to me, it felt almost like somebody had their knee against the leg of the table and they were sort of jiggling their leg.
A magnitude 7.8 earthquake, the strongest in Nepal's history, triggered an avalanche, claiming the lives of at least 19 climbers and injuring more than 100 others. Towne's camp was quickly transformed into a triage.
Some people were being carried on aluminum ladders like they were stretchers. Some people were able to walk with assistance on somebody else's shoulder, but everybody pitched in and tried to do what they could.
2 years later, Towne returned to Everest, undeterred by the past.
I summited just as the sun was reaching the horizon, which meant as I looked to the west, I saw a shadow of the entire mountain being cast as far as the eye could see. It was a powerful moment because I realized just how far I'd come from being an overweight 12-year-old who couldn't jog half a block, but who decided that he wanted to try hiking, a small hill east of Washington, D.C., and then successively larger peaks until 14 years later, the summit of Mount Everest.
Towne's triumph made him one of only about 150 people in the world to conquer the 7 summits, But before he could even go to sleep that night, his next voyage was already coming into view, thanks to a conversation with a former rowing teammate turned ocean rower.
And he says, you know, you might really love ocean rowing. I said, get out of here. Why do you say that? He said, well, you know how to row, you like bad weather environments, and you like multi-week expeditions where you have to manage your food and your health and everything else over a long period of time.
Towne was soon introduced to Theon Paul, the world's most decorated ocean rower.
And he said he wanted to row a boat to Antarctica. Said, nobody's ever done it, let's do it. So the expedition was born. The Drake Passage is the worst stretch of ocean in the world. The reason is, it's a 600-mile stretch between South America and Antarctica, where the entire Pacific Ocean merges with the entire Atlantic Ocean. So all of the currents are forced through that narrow passage.
The expedition, titled The Impossible Row, was documented by the Discovery Channel as 6 men crossed the passage in a rowboat.
We saw everything. Seasickness, borderline hypothermia from freezing water and freezing wind, waves over 25 feet tall crashing down on us as we're trying to row this boat through the Drake Passage, fatigue because you can't get enough energy to row 12 hours a day across such horrific conditions, and you have no option but to continue rowing. And so through all of that, each of us faced our own trials, and I think where we came together as a team was helping one another.
Towne took his challenges to the extreme, but the lesson behind it all is simple. Believing in yourself will take you however far you are daring to climb.
When I was a kid, I wanted to not be the fat kid. I wanted to show that I could lead an active lifestyle. And you know, now after 20 years, I just love being in nature. And I love being active, and I love the way that the combination of the two makes me completely present.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Build Your Base with Beef Sports Nutrition and Training Program.